We are trying to save democracy. We love this country. That's why we're fighting so hard to save it.
Preparations underway for the upcoming No Kings protests planned for this weekend.
People are sick and tired of this ridiculous authoritarian government, and it's no longer a slide into authoritarianism.
Republican lawmakers voicing their concerns.
In today's video, we're going to be discussing the government shutdown. We are officially in the third longest government shutdown, and it doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon.
Do you feel any urgency to end the shutdown in the next week, 2 weeks, or would you be fine if this stretches into November and then toward the holidays with folks not getting paid?
Well, you know, shutdown, we've had many, many shutdowns, and this is a shutdown that shouldn't have happened. A group of people brilliantly decided to make it after the election. I said, thank you very much. In other words, give it to Trump instead of Biden. So it shouldn't happen. And likewise, debt ceiling shouldn't have. But the great big, beautiful bill solved the debt ceiling problem for
Is there a point where you would reach out to all parties?
Here's what's happening in the shutdown, though. Honestly, can I put it in plain words for you? And you're a smart guy, so you all understand, but a lot of people don't. The Democrats are getting on the shutdown because we're closing up programs that are Democrat programs that we were opposed to. So we're being, and they're never going to come back in many cases.
How do we live in one of the richest countries in the world? People are going to work without pay. People are going to work like it's volunteer. Nor do they know when this is going to end, nor do they know when their next paycheck is going to happen, nor do they know if they're going to be able to pay their rent next month, all while we're going through a recession. Imagine living in today's dystopian times on top of not knowing when your next paycheck was going to come, on top of being expected to come to work. To work for the government used to be one of the most prestigious jobs. Those are one of the jobs that it was really hard for you to lose your job. Like, you work for the government, people used to brag and boast about working for the government or to fight for this country. But now all that means is you may not be getting a paycheck, all under the name of being an essential worker. Because you are an essential worker, we're going to treat you like you're not essential at all. Like, how does that even make sense?
In Congress, pointing fingers at one another for the government shutdown.
It's a really frustrating process.
The Democrat shutdown.
The shutdown is nearing its fourth week now, leaving 900,000 federal workers without pay or laid off. The U.S. House passed a spending bill to keep the government open, but that legislation has failed to pass in the Senate 10 times now. Congressman Adam Smith tells me House Speaker Mike Johnson is trying to force Senate Democrats to agree with the Republican spending bill.
And if they have the votes for that, well, okay, then I guess that's democracy. I don't like it, but they can vote for it. But now they're telling Democrats that we have to vote for Trump's budget and Trump's government.
Smith tells me Democrats are fighting for priorities to keep energy costs low and Medicaid for hundreds of thousands of Americans, but says Republicans refuse to negotiate. Meanwhile, Speaker Johnson says the spending bill would only be temporary as lawmakers work to hash out the details later on. He says Democrats hold the power to end the shutdown.
They can make this stop immediately if they will just do the simple and right thing. Pass our simple 24-page bill that just merely says status quo, keep the lights on.
What's your message to those federal workers who are kind of getting the short end of the stick as the fight goes on for these issues?
Well, I can tell you what the federal workers' message has been to me. Don't back down.
We're going to be seeing some of the frustration and real life things that government workers and people are going through.
Hey there, I'm Leah, your friendly federal employee. Today is day 15 of the government shutdown. Why? Because Congress still hasn't passed a budget for this year, which, by the way, started on October 1st. I'm what's called an accepted employee, which means I still have to work, even though there's no money to pay for me. So, yeah, 2.5 weeks of unpaid work and counting. I should get back pay if Congress figures it out, but honestly, it's really stressful not knowing how or when this is going to happen. So I'm dipping into my savings to keep the lights on, and I'm hoping for the best. I'm wondering, is anyone out there in TikTok land that works in the private sector ever been in a situation like this? Please drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear how you handled it. Thanks.
But I guarantee Congress is getting paid. I'm sure they're getting a paycheck, and I'm sure if they weren't getting a paycheck, they'll come to a verdict much, much quicker. This would have been solved. It's not solved because they do not care. A comment from under that video said, "What happens if you don't go to work? Does it seem legal to expect people to work without being paid?" It's legal that our president is a felon. The fact that our president is a felon, I don't understand what we would put beyond this legislation. Like, what can we put beyond this? A lot of people are like, "Oh, that shouldn't be legal. This should be legal." We have a felon as a president. Like, I don't understand what people don't understand. Nothing makes sense. Nothing at all. Somebody else says work without pay is illegal. It's wage theft at best. For help, seek out your local food boxes, churches that will help with your electric bills. Seek out honestly making local community, regardless of how this turns out. Former Fed that lived through the 2 shutdowns is going to get worse. And I'm happy that a lot of people are coming online and showing that this is the reality of it. But what people need to realize is that all of these communities and these banks and nonprofits, they've already been exhausted, because on top of people not getting paid, we're already living through a recession right now. People with their jobs can barely afford to pay for food and groceries and bill and just their everyday living essentials on top of not getting paid.
Over this past weekend, they quietly fired over 100 staff members that funds and manages our country's entire mental health and substance use systems. This is the same agency behind the 988 suicide and crisis lifeline. The same people who keep community programs and addiction services running across all 50 states. These are the people who coordinate crisis grant, addiction recovery, and trauma response programs. Earlier this year, federal funding was already cut from the LGBTQ plus youth division of the 988 crisis line. The same one that handled over 1.3 million calls and texts from the youth that was in crisis. Tens of millions of Americans struggle with mental illness each year. And with suicide rates climbing, the House of Dilution is cutting the very infrastructure that's meant to prevent this. They're calling it streamlining, but all it's really doing is having longer hold time, fewer counselors, slower grants, and local programs being forced to close their doors. It means communities in crisis, veterans, teens, parents reaching out for help and hearing nothing but silence on the other end. So when you cut mental health support, you're really cutting the lifelines. And the silence that follows that is what is.
So many Democrat programs benefited them too. I just hope that is not the case. But I'm not surprised at all that they're firing these people. They never gave a damn about mental health.
Do you want to know the real reason that the Republicans have shut down the government from an insider? So I grew up as a Christian homeschool conservative. I was around people who were into Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation. And so I know their playbook. They've been planning this forever, and they are getting to their goal very, very fast. So Republicans have shut down the government, and this has been a plan all along because they want to reduce the force of the government. They want to kind of slash it, fire everybody, and start from scratch. So what they've been doing is they've been the past decades, I think probably at least 2 decades, they have been scoping out Christian homeschool talent. For example, people in government organizations from DC would come to my college to scope out the talent, and homeschoolers were very big into learning debate and political science, and then they started their colleges like Patrick Henry College, my college, Liberty, all of these to kind of create government workers and brainwashed Christian conservative smart talent that could go into Washington, D.C. So they have been scoping and recruiting people for 2 decades. And so now that they have Trump in office and they have all of the power, they want to shut everything down, reduce the force, and then in doing so, they are going to replace all of those fired employees with Christian loyalists, Trump loyalists, and they've been actually teaching them and hiring them and interviewing them for this job. When you read Project 2025, that is their plan. That is what they're going to do. And you can say like, oh, that's discriminatory because they can't hire people just based on their politics. Trump literally had every single government employee sign something that's saying like, what do you like the most about Trump's presidency? So they don't give a fuck about the law. They don't give a fuck about discriminating. This is the new America.
So many thought they just wanted to eliminate the minorities, the Black, the Hispanics. But no, they want to eliminate anybody that's poor. If you're middle to poor class, they want to eliminate you.
So due to the government shutdown, there will be no SNAP benefits dispersed for November of 2025. And I feel like y'all need to feel this because y'all put those people in position to do this to y'all. Y'all voted for him. Y'all went out thinking that, oh, this man was going to give y'all something. Guess what? They cannot say it's the Democrats or the liberals because guess what? The Republicans own every single part of the government. I'm talking about the Senate, the House, the presidency, and they own the Supreme Court. And it's always going to be about politics. Oh, the Democrats aren't doing this. No, y'all asked for this because y'all thought y'all was going to get a stimulus check and some free money. It's never going to be free. It's always going to be at the cost of the taxpayers' dollars. And they're going to say, oh, it's going to affect the brown and blacks. No, it affects the Caucasity because guess who are on more government benefits than any other ethnicity? The Caucasities people are. And I feel like y'all need to feel that because y'all went and did this. Because guess what? The rich is getting richer and the poor is getting poorer. And it is what it is. But y'all know what to do. Get in the comments. Let's go. I'm not upset because guess what? It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect a lot of people that are around me. But it is going to affect kids who are hungry. They're talking about the food banks are open. People are going to be starving in the richest country in the world. And y'all talking about, oh, it's somebody else's fault. No, it's y'all fault because y'all put them people in position. Y'all know what to do. Get in the comments. Let's go. But yeah, they say the food bank's open. That's what they said today in the meeting.
This was already in place. This has already been in place for over 5 decades. And people signed on. Like Trump told you before he even got in office, he said that he was going to do this. And either people were ignorant and they just didn't read, or they knew what he was going to do, but they didn't think he was going to actually do it, or they didn't think it was going to affect them. So they still voted for him. So this is crazy. This is insane. And the crazy thing is that this is going to be really hard to be reversible. I don't see any of this being reversible. Let's go ahead and get into another video.
Did you guys realize that there's so many people talking about the food stamp cut that's going on as far as like people not getting their food stamps for the month of November? But what I'm going to say is probably not going to benefit you or change the narrative of what's going on for the month of November. But what I am going to say is that you guys realize that around the first of the month, when the majority of people get their food stamps around the first of the month, not everybody, some people get them like on the 3rd, the 15th. It all depends. I don't know if it goes by your last name or what. But majority, if not all of these grocery stores around the U.S., they depend on those billions of dollars worth of food stamps to come in every single month. They prep for it every month at their grocery store. That's why when you go into a store around the first of the month, you see fresh grapes. Everything looks so fresh and pretty because they know that it's going to leave those shelves quick. You guys realize, even if it's just the month of November and people don't get their food stamps, do you know how bad that's going to hurt the grocery stores? All those turkeys that's coming from all those farms that's going to sit there, millions of turkeys. They're going to have to get that stuff away. They can't let it just sit there and spoil. All that meat that sits there, guys, they have to mark that meat down and give it to you and sell it to you for discounted prices. Only people with cash is going to be able to afford that food. You guys realize how bad it's going to hurt the meat producers, the butchers, the farmers, the people who produce the vegetables and everything. So this is way bigger than you guys think. A lot of people is thinking, well, Thanksgiving's going to be bad. It could be bad if people don't get their food stamps because they're dependent on it. But just think about how big of a freaking disaster it's going to be on our economy, man. All it's going to take is just 1 month of people not getting their food stamps, and watch what happens in those grocery stores. Those meat prices is going to drop. Those vegetable prices is going to drop. Those fruit prices is going to drop. They're not going to throw that stuff in the trash can, guys. Not when they can at least make something off of it. But you guys leave me your comments on this topic. I'm just really curious. I think the grocery stores are going to suffer just as much as the people who are not getting their SNAP benefits for the month of November. Thanks for watching.
And that's just another example of how this may not affect you, because you might say, oh, I don't get EBT. I pay for my groceries anyway. It is going to affect you in some way. And another person commented and said shoplifting and other crimes will increase. Of course, because if people can't eat, they're not going to just go without. Some people out here will do anything possible to feed their family. Either one, like he said, the prices of meat are they're gonna have to be marked down because they need to get rid of it before it goes bad, or two, because no one can afford to eat and buy basic essentials. Instead of us paying $3 to $4 for a pound of meat, now we're going to be paying $7 to $8 for a pound of meat, just simply because people are not able to afford to buy. And someone else also commented and said people paying cash are having it rough too. Indeed, I think they want people to steal so they can arrest them. I wouldn't be surprised, y'all. This is just crazy. Let me know how y'all feel about this government shutdown. Are you affected, or anyone you know is affected by it? But yeah, that's all I have for this video. I'm praying for everybody, and I'm just hoping that the government will open back up soon and they come to a decision. And it's in the betterment of us, because I'm not mad that people are protesting and we're fighting right now. This is a pivotal point in America's history, and it needs to happen. Like, Democrats need to stand up, and it needs to be negotiated. Our rights need to be fought for, but it's just sucky that it's at the expense of the federal workers.